Somebody has to get with the tide and get with the rest of the world. And I believe, and always have, that place can do it. Because it doesn't matter what color skin, what your name is, what it is. The moment the whistle blows, when you're a lover of the beautiful game and you love St. Louis, everyone's gonna come together. And so whether it's the Louisans, and I love the Hispanic flavor that all of a sudden Energizer Park has. We need more of that.
Welcome to a new edition of the City Voice podcast. I say every time that I'm joined by special guests, but I don't think I've ever had three special guests quite like this. This is the Legends edition. Welcome to the show, Ty, Taylor, and Jim. How's it going, guys? Let's go a quick vibe check. How are we feeling?
We're doing just great. Waiting for the season to start.
Okay, let's get in with some introductions. I don't need to do introductions, but maybe people listening to the podcast don't quite know the St. Louis City royalty that we've got sitting beside me. I've got Jim Kavanaugh. I'll give you an intro. A St. Louis soccer icon who played at the highest levels, including representing the US in the Olympics. You were draft pick number 2 for Major Indoor League Soccer. You played for a team called the Los Angeles Lasers, which sounds incredible. You also repped for the St. Louis Steamers. After stepping off the pitch, you co-founded Worldwide Technology, turning it into a multi-billion-dollar powerhouse. But beyond business, you're the man that helped bring Major League Soccer to St. Louis. Woo! We get a woo for that.
Amen. How about come on, that's got to be a little bit louder on that one.
Yeah. He is happy to grab a beer at the supporter tailgate, chat about the implications of AI, whilst also getting into it. About how he does not like the false nine, a true St. Louis soccer visionary. Please welcome Jim Kavanaugh, everybody. Let's have a round of applause for Jim. My second guest is much better at this job than I am, so I'm a little bit nervous introducing him. Taylor Twellman. He grew up in the St. Louis soccer system and went on to become one of the most prolific goal scorers in MLS history. I have watched almost every single one of your goals in the last 24 hours. There's a lot of English.
What did
in
it last? 23 seconds?
And there was a lot of goals in there. There were a lot of goals and a bicycle kick that was absolutely outrageous. Against Chicago Fire, am I correct?
Yeah, I got it on my phone if anyone wants to watch it later.
Unbelievable. 101 goals for the New England Revolution and the 2005 MLS MVP to his name. He had a stint in Germany, had a record bids for his services. 3.5 million from Preston back in the day. What's that worth these days?
You could do. I was told math wouldn't be involved in this podcast.
It's about $10 million.
It's about 10 to 11 million.
That's a big number. Now you're the national face of MLS on Apple TV, delivering some of the sharpest takes in the game. He's got big opinions, big energy, and he's here tonight to give us both. Taylor is the second most famous Twellman in St. Louis. Where's his dad?
He told you to write that, didn't he?
There's
that's
the real
awesome.
legend.
Thanks, Pops.
We've got Tim in the audience. Taylor's a St. Louis local treasure, one of the biggest evangelists for the city.
Amen.
And we've got you here tonight, and I'm very excited about that. My final guest needs no introduction. I listened to you speak yesterday at the kit launch. It was awesome. It was inspiring. It was exciting, and it's great to know that we've got people like you in and around the club. But you still get an introduction. He embodies the rich soccer heritage of St. Louis. Ty Keough is a former US men's national team player and professional in both NASL and MISL, transitioning from the field to the broadcast booth. He has provided insightful commentary for major networks covering multiple World Cups. With deep roots in St. Louis, Ty has both witnessed and contributed to the city's legendary soccer history. Welcome to the show, Ty. Let's have a round of applause for him as well.
Thank you.
You know the routine. This is live. This is how we do it.
Yeah, Taylor took my job.
A little bit of spice early on. Okay, so we're going to do a quick fire round to start with. Keep you on your toes, okay? You have to answer quickly, no dithering. First question goes to you, Taylor. Favorite city moment so far?
Opening game, league history in this building against Charlotte. Full disclosure, I shed a tear because I may have had many conversations with the man to my left. I grew up watching the man to your right. I don't think any of us would ever believe that there would be a $250 million stadium in this city to celebrate the sport. I will remember that day to the day I die, because I still have to remind myself that we're actually here doing this. That was as good of a day as I've ever had in my life. And I had nothing to do with it other than talk for 90 minutes with a smile on my face.
That's a great answer. Jim, favorite city moment so far?
Wow. Similar to Taylor, but I would just say that coming down, honestly, and just going into the stadium from the first game to multiple games, it's just something I don't take for granted. That it's the experience, the energy, the supporters here. You know, we were talking before. I've been all over the world. You know, playing but seeing games, going to World Cups. This is as good as it gets. This stadium, the design, and it's not just the design, but inside the stadium, the supporters, the environment. If you're not, inspired and you just don't have those goosebumps when you come in, you don't love the game. And it's a special place. So every time it feels, really just like the first time when you walk in. So Taylor said it well.
That's awesome. Ty, you mentioned yesterday in your talk that you've only missed one game, and it was a hurricane that kept you away from St. Louis City. So I'm sure you've had a lot of memories.
That's weak, Ty. It's just a hurricane.
No, you don't know the whole story.
You would have played in a hurricane.
Well, I did, but it's crazy. So you mentioned goosebumps. You mentioned also helping get him into this, right? You were coaching my niece. How many years ago was that? Yeah, at least 15, probably. Yeah. And I was already in his ear because I knew things were going well for Worldwide Technology. I said, come on, we need a team here. We need a Major League Soccer team here. So I'll take some big credit for that. But as far as specifically this stadium, a work of art, and my favorite was walking into it for the first match. That was a City 2 match. And speaking of goosebumps, it was about 15 degrees and the wind chill was probably lower than that. And I could still feel those goosebumps, but just tremendous to see the team come out onto that beautifully manicured. We never played on fields like that. I know you guys call it a pitch, but this is St. Louis. We call it a field. And it was cool and it was cold and I'll never forget it.
That's awesome. Okay, next question. This is for the soccer hardcore in here. Best place to play in St. Louis that isn't City Park? Growing up, where was your favorite place in St. Louis to play soccer?
Ooh, that's a real good one. I think majority of the people in this room would probably assume that I'm going to say Forest Park because I'm a St. Louis U High grad. I will tell you, Soccer Park had something. Soccer Park always had something, and it was something about, I think I was 8, 9. The United States Olympic team was coming there. There was a World Cup qualifier there. So it was your introduction to one, wearing red, white, and blue, but more so of seeing what it was. And that was in our backyard. 8,900 people at St. Louis Soccer Park.
They were putting up, temporary stands to bring more people.
But then to think that, Peter, 2 weeks later, my club team, my high school were playing there. You know what I mean? It kind of gave you a little taste of, no, this could maybe be you. So I would say St. Louis Soccer Park for me, and that grass field in the middle with about 6,500 stands there. That was as good as it got.
Ty, your favorite field?
My favorite.
He's going to say Forest Park. He scored 900 goals on that field.
No.
With no nets on the goals.
I'm going to say Pete Sorber's Florissant Valley Community College field because he kept it pristine. It's the best field maybe I've ever played on. Certainly it was the best field I ever saw when I was like a 16 or 17-year-old the first time I got to play.
So a fellow St. Louis and Steve Ralston would have the exact same answer. I've asked him that multiple times.
Oh, yeah, it was a carpet. Wonderful. Because
Mike Sorber would say that for sure, but that's because his dad.
Usually we were playing on what Greg Mikowski called over at Mullally Field, Astro Dirt.
Astro Dirt. Jim, indoor or outdoor?
Yes, if you went indoor, you would go with the Twellmans.
Yeah, so, you better say that.
My God.
4 kicks, just for kicks.
Yeah. That's where you would be. And be there a lot. So that's one. That's
it was $1 a beer. So absolutely you would be there.
Popcorn and beer afterwards. Do it right. Yes. That was, there were a lot of games played there. I would give 2 real quick. Outdoor.
One was kind of a high school thing, would be Coke Park.
Awesome.
Which, again, quality of field is not what we're looking for.
No,
but
it was awesome.
Atmosphere was just off the charts at that time. And then I'd go exactly where Taylor went. Fortunately, when I was at St. Louis U, that's ended up being our home field, and playing on a quality field with the venue like that was just an amazing experience.
And thank Denny Long for that.
Oh, no question about it. I mean, he was the man behind it and did it. But, I would just say to all that, the unique, Mullally Field, Coke Park, those types, Forest Park, that's what, the history of St. Louis soccer was built on, those types of fields. So a lot of history goes back there.
To Jim's point, there was an aura to a lot of these places. My generation, the CBC field for high school was mint. And when you walked into that place, you thought it was your World Cup final that day, right? But there was always a little story behind all of this, which is why we're here celebrating 75 years of what this entire thing has been. There's very few communities in the country that have a story and people that can tell a little thing about each individual field. It's remarkable.
I love how this is supposed to be a quick round, and you guys are going backwards and forth. But it's nice. This is what I've learned. I've only been here 4 years, but when you hear three legends talking about a pitch in that way, it's like, that's why soccer's so big in St. Louis, because you care. There's a history to everything, every part of the city. So that's amazing. Okay, because I've got food on the brain. Going to ask this final question. My boss, Matt Seebeck, is in here somewhere, and he would kill me if I didn't ask. Where's your favorite place to eat inside City Park? What's going to be your first meal? Jim, you look like you've got an answer on the brain.
Wow, I don't. I'm probably not going to be the best because I'm a little spoiled on. I don't move far from either the pitch or the owner's suite, which we get.
We get it, Jim. We get it.
I know. So thank you. I appreciate that. So I will say
it's whatever Matt Seebeck delivers to the owner's suite. That's what he likes.
I see. Fork and treat box. Ty, you're a season ticket holder. Where do you go to eat?
Well, I go to the press box because I also have a press pass, and I eat with Tim Twellman. Whatever Tim Twellman's eating over there. So that's
this
pretty
question
awesome.
is struggling.
This is a tough one. This is a real tough one. And you're asking someone that's only been in that building as a commentator. So I'm going to say
he likes the press box too. Yeah.
Spicy meal that Matt Seebeck puts in front of me. So what I love about Energizer Park is that it is always been random for me, which I love because as a season ticket holder, my family's season ticket, my brother and sister would say the exact same thing. It's something new every time, right? So you have your staples, I get it, but my family is enjoying, this game we had this. We had pulled pork this one, we had hot tacos this one, we had hot chicken this one. That to me is unique. You know what I mean? Because if you want me to say a Bavarian pretzel, I will. Twellman's my last name, sure, no problem. But it's not really what it is at Energizer Park.
That was a great answer. I love the way that we finished that one off. Okay, talking of hot somethings, I'm going to come to you guys because I need a hot take heading into the new season. We're not many days away. I'm very excited, and I've got three people, and everybody said, these guys have got opinions. And I know that you've got opinions because I hear you on the TV and catch you on the touchline. Taylor, going to go to you first on this one. What is your hot take heading into this new season?
LA Galaxy struggle to make the playoffs.
Spicy.
They miss 5 starters. Ricky Pooch is out for the year with an ACL. Joseph Paintsill is out for 6 to 8 weeks due to a hamstring. The West is better. San Jose is going to be good. They just beat St. Louis City today in the final preseason game, 2-1. Bruce Arena knows what he's doing there. Seattle got better. Dallas got a former MVP. I think the West becomes very, very unpredictable because there's not the FC Cincinnati's and the Atlanta Uniteds that go out and spend $35 million and they've got a known quantity. I think the LA Galaxy are going to be in the thick of it of trying to make the playoffs this year because it's going to be a struggle. And side note, but something nobody knows, for the first time in MLS history, 70% of the games are going to be played in the regular season before the transfer window opens up in the summer. Traditionally, it's 55%. And so you can make up by signing players and doing whatever. This year, teams have to do it now. That's why you're seeing LAFC kind of go a little bit more aggressive before Antoine Griezmann comes. But my hot take is the Galaxy, reigning champions. I think they're going to struggle to make the playoffs. I think they make it, but I think it's a grind.
Was that spicy? You like that? Yeah, I like that. I like that. Ty, you've got, I mean, that was quite spicy. How are you going to up it?
Oh, he'll up it.
Well, we'll see. For me, is that the entire league has gotten better, and it's transformational that they are now able to cash buy players' contracts.
Yep.
In other words, it was kind of convoluted before how you had to go about acquiring talent, and that's an important point that Taylor just made, that the window is much later. So you will see how the coaches handle that, because you can't just import something to solve a problem for you on the field. So it's going to be real interesting. We should make a hot take about this club right here, right? This club here, I think, is now much more solid. There's been acquisitions in key parts of the field, especially, I think, in the central defense. And Roman Berkey will love that, I think. And the fact is, if you've got that sort of a basis, a foundation like that, you can handle the injuries better than the club did last year.
Jim?
Hang on a minute. He's an owner. Are we really trying to get him in trouble?
It's my job. I've got to get him into trouble. That's what.
Okay, I kind of like it. I like it. I like it. Go ahead, Jim.
You can do one about City. I mean, like,
I'll give quick, and I'm good at getting myself in trouble. So, but I appreciate this guy's done it from experience. He's trying to give me an out.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm trying to give you an out, but go ahead.
Right. Thank you. So one, we make the playoffs. City, and feel good about that, making a run. Two, we're going to make a really nice run in the Open Cup.
Agreed.
I feel that we're going to take advantage of that opportunity. And then I just think overall, we're going to see throughout the league and here at City that the momentum for soccer in the U.S. is going to build and build and build with the World Cup coming. Agreed. So I think we're going to see some really exciting stuff, playing throughout this year and going into next year. And City is going to continue to build upon that.
You want one more, Peter?
Of course.
2 world-class stars signed in Major League Soccer on August 1st.
2 world-class?
World-class stars.
Did you accidentally mention one earlier?
Maybe. I may have teased one.
You've been hinting at that. You've been saying that big things are coming to MLS.
But keep an eye on Lewandowski.
That is a spicy take.
Contract ends May 15th. Barcelona's in financial problems, and his wife and him want to be here badly. I will be shocked if that is not.
I mean, that's spicy, right? We like that. We like that.
That's a good one.
Let's move on to the next topic conversation. Jim, I'm going to come to you for this first one. We are all about the new kit that's sitting behind your shoulder, but I think it would be remiss of us not to say farewell to the old kit. Could you tell me your favorite memory? I mean, you've been here since the conception of the color through to it rolling out on the first day. Could you tell me your abiding memory of the last home kit that we had, our inaugural shirt?
Yeah, I would just in regards to the kit, I think what's amazing to me, again, all of us growing up here and being a part of, soccer in St. Louis, it's amazing to me to see how well the kit and just the gear has been received.
Oh my God.
I mean, it's just amazing to me. Honestly, I was in Mexico and I see somebody wearing St. Louis City gear. It's just really, really, inspiring. And
to Jim's point, Orlando played Miami last night in Tampa. 43,500 people. I saw 20 St. Louis City kits. For what reason?
Yeah.
Now, on the flight to here today, 10 of those could have been the same people. They may have went and seen Messi, but the point is, you got to pinch yourself when you're like, that's not a Cardinals hat.
No.
That's not a Blues sweatshirt. That is St. Louis City.
That's exactly where I'm going. Driving around and seeing it here, you see so much City gear.
The flags on the car. It's awesome.
Yeah, the bumper stickers, the supporters, all that. No, that is what really gets me fired up. I mean, I take a lot of pride in that too. You guys, by the way, have done an amazing job. Our team, your team, just putting us together, the experience and bringing the supporters in. So that's what really gets me fired up.
There's no question that the color pops. I mean, look around. It's crazy. Yeah.
Ty, when you first saw it, were you a little bit unsure? Were you like, is this going to pop in the city? And now how do you feel about it? What's your favorite memory?
You know what's funny? Everybody did talk about it. I mean, you look at it and you're like, wait a minute, is that red or is that not red? You know, and
pink? Is it red?
Yeah. Well, it's city red, but I think people have embraced it. There's no question about that.
Only club in the world to rock that color.
Exactly. Peter, nobody talks about that enough. Adidas has color palettes for all these clubs. This is the only club in the world that has that. I think that's very unique, especially because everyone in this building that grew up in St. Louis, we have an affinity to red. The St. Louis Cardinals, baseball town, we all grew up with it. We loved it. When Carolyn said, I want to show you something, and it was the city red, and my first thing was, oh man, this is gonna hit. This sweatshirt is mint, not because I'm wearing it, well, partially because I'm wearing it, but the color, like, it just stands out. You know exactly what team it is. It's not a Premier League team, it's not a Spanish team, it's not a USL team. You know exactly what that city red is, and that's where you can talk about the first kit, the second kit, the third kit. As long as that stays consistent, which it always will, it's gonna be 25, 30, 40 years from now, it's going to really resonate because it's already hitting a home run right now.
Our retail director, brand retail director, Judy Marsh is in here. She will attest to how difficult it is to get that color match. Her and Matt Seebeck going through color swatches in the first season was quite something. The new kit that is sitting just over your shoulder there, it has what we're calling the city sash. The 5 lines are representative of those guys that beat England. I'm sorry, I'm taking a lot of L's over the last 6 months here as in England.
You're still sore about it,
I'm still sore about it. I'll be happy when this season's over. But the way that we're interpreting this sash, we've got something called My City Sash Story. And you don't have to be a professional soccer player to have a soccer sash story. Everybody in St. Louis has got their own story of where they started in soccer and how they ended up in this room thinking about going into a third season. I would love to get people's individual My City Sash stories. Ty, I'd love to start with you. Like, what's your My City Sash story? What's brought you to this chair right here?
Well, my dad did. And my dad played in that match at the 1950 World Cup. And it's just really a question of wrapping your head around that, because it wasn't just him. It was 4 other St. Louis guys who paid their dues here, made the U.S. national team, went to a World Cup and got that type of a result. And, we heard it growing up. We emulated those guys. Bill McDermott got to see them play. He's a little bit older than us. It really is a part of the whole soccer culture here. Everybody knows about it. To beat England, the inventors of the game, not in a friendly, it's a World Cup, right? And by the way, they did not make it out of group play in that 1950 World Cup due to that result and another result or two. So, and I think that was their first World Cup. In fact, England had opted not to participate in the 1930, 1934, 1938 World Cups. They didn't need it. They thought they were good enough without a World Cup. So they go to Brazil in 1950. And I don't know if they were taught a lesson, but to be beaten by
5 kids from the hill. Love it.
That's wrong, though.
I know.
My dad's from Cronolette.
I know, but I just wanted you to say it.
We found a problem with the story.
No, but the key element really is England's team were full-time professionals. England had a professional league, a first division, for decades at that point, even in 1950, right? So we have part-timers, guys here that work for a living. My dad was a mail carrier. And on the side, they go to training 2-3 nights a week. They play on Sundays, and then they go to work on Monday morning, playing against full-time pros, the inventors of the game, and they get a result in a World Cup. So we knew all about that growing up, and it made us feel proud. And they were proud guys. They were proud of what they had accomplished. They also had great careers otherwise. And the fact is they were competitors. We learned that too. I mean, every St. Louis guy who steps on a soccer field knows that they have to prove that they're from St. Louis because of what the history is here. And you're just so fortunate to have that to look up to.
You mentioned pride there. It's a personal question, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to. How would your dad feel about this and what it's become? And would he have felt pride in being reflected in a shirt for a?
He would
news
hate
franchise?
high pressing.
He would be knocked out because that's the sort of thing all these guys had dreamt about. We dreamt about it even when we were kids because we know the stature of the game in other parts of the world. And we knew we had something special here too. But it hadn't reached the point where we could compare ourselves in terms of facilities, in terms of a professional approach to the game, in terms of having a true structured league where guys could make a living playing the game. And to get there, a lot of guys paid a lot of dues in order to bring this about. You talked about the soccer park. That was one step, wasn't it? To have a place where people from all around the country came to a soccer-specific facility for the first time. And it gave us a sense of pride in that regard. St. Louis University played their home games there. Jim played those games at that facility. And the state high school finals, were they already there when you were in high school, right? Yeah.
I lost. Thanks, Ty. Let's bring that one up.
I know,
That's
but
good.
your dad and I won that state
I know
championship.
you did. That's why you brought it up.
I love
That's
to bring that one up.
No, this is fun.
But yeah, for my dad and any of those guys that were in that era, and Bill McDermott knows the history. Dave Lang knows the history with his book. The fact is, it was about time because think about it. You played in the league. You're league MVP in 2005, and you're like a gypsy. You don't really have a home, right? Yep. And you could even point to St. Louis at that time. We were no longer on the map. And now we are.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Jim, you've had a really colorful athletic career. I was fascinated to see where you would take your city sash story. Tell us what that sash means to you and a little bit about your journey with soccer.
Yeah, I'll give you just two or three quick ones. One, just being here, it's special when you talk about location. So if you look at Maggie O'Brien's right next door, my dad was a bricklayer growing up. So, come up in a very middle income family. He ends up being, a business agent and a president of Bricklayers Union. Well, the Bricklayers Union worked out of that building. He was in the corner office. Well, when they bought that building, I was 11 or 12 years old. He had me down here pulling weeds in the parking lot. So if you think about it, pulling weeds, and then it's X amount of years later, you're looking at this, we're building this amazing stadium, right across the street from where I was. It used to be the old Elks Club, and I was moving furniture. So, you make those connections. You think about it. I remember him in that office up there looking across. I would have never dreamed that we'd have a stadium like this down here. The other one I would say is we brought it up earlier, played soccer. Look at the Twellman family. These connections with people don't realize. I can't tell you how many times and playing in the different Twellman facilities, on a Rock Road or up in, North County. And, my goodness, too, if you played to some of your uncles and your dad, get out of the way when they're hitting the ball. I mean, they hit the ball like a cannon. So, these small little stories and connections. And then, I had a good fortune where I was very fortunate to get picked by Ty's dad to go to St. Louis University and play there, and just had an amazing experience on the field and getting to know his dad. So all these little connections are, those little sashes, I would say that it's such a rich soccer history and experience that really make St. Louis what it is today. So very, very special.
So by the way, Jim, this guy, this is gold right here, this left foot.
Yeah?
Right? Oh, yeah.
But not anymore. I don't know about that.
But you know what I'm saying? And I always said, if his right foot was as good as his left foot, he might have been playing for AC Milan.
Did you name your left foot the difference maker or something like that?
Yeah. The right foot is, I think his dad, you only use that to stand on. But
to get on and off the bus with it.
Jim's been such a failure, you're slacker.
I'm trying, Taylor. No, but his dad was a
we always make fun of him.
special
He's
man.
totally left-footed.
Yeah,
Love it.
No question about it.
Taylor, where do you take your Sash story? Like, you've
man,
been
I
through
could do
so
this for
many
a couple
journeys.
hours.
Yeah, like, what's your story?
I think I epitomize what this city's about. I've said for a long time, this city raised me to grow up in a family where my grandfather played Major League Baseball for 19 years. A father played in the NASL for 11 years, and yet neither one thought they were ever bigger than the game. I met Ty when I was 4. I met Jim when I was probably 10. Steve Petcher, Pat McBride, Greg Mikowski. I can go down the list. Not a single one of them thought they were bigger than the game. It taught you 3 words: responsibility, accountability, and humility. And I would not change a single thing in my life. I've lived in Boston longer, but this city made you, no matter what you did, responsible for what you did for your family with the name on the back of the jersey, the city that was on the front of your jersey. If you made a mistake, it made you raise your hand. If you won, it made you celebrate and raise your hand, but it made you humble. And it's very difficult to articulate, and I'm supposed to do this for a living, on what humility does for someone now that I'm 45 and I'm sitting next to Jim Kavanaugh and the love and passion that he had for the game, and Ty and what his dad did in 1950, where there's 5 stripes on this jersey to signify 75 years ago. And this is why I get on my soapbox. There's no other city in America that has this. And yet there's no other city in America where the superstars in this city would come to the pavilion and have a beer with you and talk about Emo's Pizza and the bricklayer in this stadium. All of this shit makes this city so good and strong and real, but it makes you responsible, it makes you accountable, and it makes you freaking humble. And I would not change a single thing. So you can put 5 stripes on there. You can do whatever. I don't care what the jersey says. I will talk about those 3 words to the day I die. My kids will get those 3 things because St. Louis raised me, because everyone in this building is humble and proud to be from St. Louis, Missouri.
I mean,
that is the greatest gift in the world.
Cheers. Brilliant answers, guys. Brilliant answers. I did just want to, you mentioned baseball. I don't know, I should have asked you before, asking you on the fly.
What are you going to call it? What are you going to, you call it rounders.
Rounders, yeah. I heard that you were very, very good at baseball.
I got highlights on my phone if you want to see those too, Peter.
I'll see those out there.
So the humility didn't hit me much, Peter, just so you know. I've been in Boston long enough, now I'm a masshole, so it's kind of like,
But you had the choice between a career in baseball and a career in soccer. I think it says a lot about you that you chose a career in soccer. Can you tell me what tipped it for you? Because it wasn't as mature, right?
I was an outlier.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you the truth because that's the only way I know how to speak. I wasn't in the soccer crowd in St. Louis. I was told in 8th grade I would never make it in soccer because I'm a good basketball player and I'm a good baseball player. But you wanted me to look at my grandfather, who played and won 2 World Series with the Yankees, who played with Joe DiMaggio, who Matt Seebeck knows this better than anyone. We went to high school together. I loved baseball more. I did. And everyone in this city at that time said to Tim Twellman, Moochie Twellman, Taylor's not going to make it. James isn't going to make it. But I would never regret living in that city because they motivated me. I learned at a very young age, you know what? I'm going to do it my way. But I'm also going to do it for St. Louis, Missouri, and for the Twellmans. I don't regret a single second picking soccer. I don't, because Ty knows this very well. I would not have lifted weights like baseball players know how to lift weights, and I would have hated it. But truth be told, I loved baseball a lot, and this city was unbelievable. I grew up dreaming about playing for the St. Louis Cardinals, and now every freaking kid can now dream about playing St. Louis City. And if that building right there was around when I was 13, 14, 15, I'm not totally sure I would have played baseball much longer.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Answer. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the next topic of conversation. I want to talk about the blueprint for success. We've got a new manager in the building. We've got new players. Jim, I'm going to go to you first on this. You built a Fortune 500 company. You're now a part owner in a top-tier MLS club. I wanted to get your take on what you think the key ingredients are to a winning culture. And what do you think Olof Mellberg will do to build one at St. Louis City?
That's the best question of the night.
Yeah, I think, there's a lot to that question. Won't go into all of it, but the leader, it's a big deal. And, picking the right person that actually sets the tone at the top in regards to the values, the attitudes, the behaviors, the work ethic, the teamwork, because we all know, playing multiple sports, especially soccer, you can put the best players on the field, but if they don't come together and play as a team, you won't get the results that you need and the best teams need. You've seen some teams with, for sure, the best players are better players than others, and you see other teams that figure out a way to come together as a team, that have the grit, the determination, and the quality to go out and deliver. So I think, we have that leader, and I think he is very focused on those values, those behaviors, setting the tone, making sure that everybody understands that. And it's not easy. I mean, everybody here, it's easy to go out there and win, especially the game of soccer. How many games have we seen where maybe the team that was controlling the game did not win? And so I like what I'm seeing, and I like the attitude, I like the behavior, I like the grit, the determination he brings. The other thing is, it doesn't seem like the ladies like it very much either. I'm like, oh my God, I've never seen so many comments about the coach here.
I expected to see you with a full beard today, so I'm a little disappointed.
I'm like, holy cow. I think he's he's managing a soccer team here. So anyway, I digress.
I respect that.
Taylor, you've played a lot of clubs. You've played with a lot of different managers. You're on the touchline. You're a very approachable guy. I imagine you hear a lot of whispers from around the league about what makes a good manager, what makes a great manager. What ingredients do you think make a great manager in MLS in particular?
Good players. I mean, listen, the truth be told, the whistle blows. That coach isn't making 17 subs in a game. He's taken the week preparation to get there, but players win games. Let's make no mistake about that. And any player that represented St. Louis City last year better be motivated to make up for what I saw last year and for what the fans saw. So Olof Mellberg can do whatever he wants to do, tactically set up, and he's got to put the players in spots to succeed. But Jim hit the nail on the head. If it was, you got to set the player up. Messi's got 900 goals in his life. He's only got one World Cup title. Because in certain moments, the team wasn't set up to succeed, but also his teammates didn't deliver. Gonzalo Higuain sat down, talked with him. Biggest regret, 2014 World Cup final. I mean, the guy scored 400 some odd goals as professional, but that's what he remembers. My point is the players have to deliver. And so I think from what I've seen in the preseason, it's healthy skepticism. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of teams in the league are interested on how the formation in the system, and I think tomorrow's event is going to be interesting to have the conversation with the coach. They're set up with a foundation to be very difficult to play against. But as someone who knows and got paid to do one thing, goals win games. And that building deserves goals and teams that get after it. And I've lived my entire life, scared money doesn't make money. And they've got to come out in the opening game and set a standard of saying, we're now going for it. Because that Energizer Park will be 10 to 15% better. And then all of a sudden you're cooking with gas. I think the first 6 games are extremely important for this season. I really do. Because you do not want to come out slow out of the gates with how last season happened. And I think Olaf feels that a little bit, but that's on the players. Klaus, Louisan, they were here. Hartle, they were all here. They know that. Players got to show up and to deliver that.
Ty, momentum. How important is momentum? And do you have the same agreement that, listen, it's all about the players and the manager isn't, can only do so much?
Soccer is the ultimate team sport. You guys, you've made that point. Also, you need goals. You made that point. That's why he had a $10 million price tag on him, right? Because he could score goals.
Yeah.
But when it comes right down to it, soccer is also the ultimate upset sport.
No doubt.
We know why those 5 stripes
Absolutely.
are there. Those diagonals are on there.
point.
And it's because it's a team sport and because the team has to collectively pull together. And you're putting the onus on St. Louis City to prove that they can do that the way they did their inaugural season. And can Olaf Melberg create that environment, whether it's a team system, whether it's just the fact that his leadership abilities, but it does come down to the guys. When the whistle blows, it's a team that wants it more and is willing to sacrifice for their teammates. I once heard Al Trost, National Soccer Hall of Famer, former coach of mine. He played at St. Louis University. Someone asked him, what makes a great player? And he said, what makes a great player is he makes the players around them better. And that's a fact. And that's why it's such a great sport, because it takes that commitment by the entire group, the entire starting 11, and anybody else who comes in off the bench.
Peter, to your question, look at Man City right now.
Yeah.
Pep can only do so much. He's scratching his face, he's clawing at everything, and he's missing who? And everyone was surprised when Rodri won the Ballon d'Or. And yet he's out of the lineup, and Man City looks like a middle table team in the Premier League.
Yeah.
The coach can only do so much. The players have to deliver. And I think that's, for me, as the national broadcaster, I'm looking at St. Louis City saying, now it's time. Now it's time. Now you got to deliver. Third year, you had the great first season, second year disappointment. Now it's the third year. You're going to find out whether or not players are going to be here in that fourth, fifth year. And I think we know who 3 or 4 players I'm talking about. But it comes down to the players. Pep Guardiola all of a sudden isn't a bad manager. He's missing the best 6 in the world. And it threw Erling Haaland at everybody else. They have no idea what happened.
It's a great point. I do want to stay with you. You have been a big evangelist for MLS for a long time. This is a pivotal year for MLS. We've got a World Cup next year. What gives you the confidence that MLS is in good shape? And, what are there any changes that are happening this year that are really exciting you about the future ahead?
I left the Bundesliga in 2002 after September 11th happened because I wanted to come home. I wanted to see my mom and dad, and I just wanted to see my family. So I made the decision to come home. Ty Keough is calling MLS Cup final. If you would have said to Ty Keough and Taylor Twellman, the 22-year-old player in that final, that, can't believe I'm saying it, that in 2025, we will have the 30th year of the league, because people forget that year, Miami and Tampa folded, that we will have the 30th year anniversary with the 30th club in a market that is just as good as St. Louis in San Diego. And you would tell me we would have Austin, Cincinnati, we would have a new soccer-specific stadium in Columbus. We'd have 250 million here. We'd have Charlotte with 35,000. Atlanta with, I would have looked you in the eye and said, you are out of your coconut. There is no way. What drugs are you on? Here we are. And the World Cup, the biggest World Cup that's ever going to happen, is in our backyard after the FIFA Club World Cup, where 2 MLS teams are participating in this. Again, Peter, I could go on, because if you would have told me that 23, 24 years ago, if you would have said, Ty, you got to go on SportsCenter and talk about 2025 and what it's going to look like, this is not what we would have been talking about. And yet here we are. That in and of itself should be celebrated. So when I do that home opener of San Diego against St. Louis, the generations of soccer players, San Diego Sockers, St. Louis Stars, you're talking generations, Peter, that were your family back home in England. This is normal. We have those stories now. So I will be on camera telling the world on Apple TV, this is Liverpool in America versus, and that is very hard for the foreigner to understand that.
Yeah.
But it is Broncos, Segota, and those San Diego soccer teams. That's what I grew up with.
Yeah.
That's what we grew up with. And if you would have told the San Diego fans back then, 2025 is going to be your debut, they would have been like, I don't know, man. I don't think we're getting an outdoor team. I just don't think it's going to work. I don't think. So it's pretty cool that the 30th anniversary with the 30th club is in a market that every owner in MLS since 2002 is saying, how do we get to St. Louis and how do we get to San Diego? Those schedule makers are brilliant because San Diego's first home game is against St. Louis City. Unbelievable moment there.
Ty, Jim, love you to come in on this conversation. One of the sort of themes that I get from speaking to people all around MLS is it's really hard. It's really hard getting to where we've got here. Is it true? Did you ever believe that we would be in this situation? How proud are you that MLS is where it is now, and how excited are you about the future?
Well, it would have been difficult to imagine what Taylor just described. There's no question, because the league was really teetering. And when you think about it, because the ownership groups were kind of caving in. It took Philip Anschutz, Lamar Hunt, just kind of held it together with just pure grit and pure, I don't know, they had duct tape and paper clips that they were trying to hold it together. So it came around. I think it's a fact that soccer is a generational thing. Taylor just touched on that. And what you see now is throughout the country, guys who've grown up with the game, they've played the game, they're now coaching their kids, they're coaching their grandkids, and it's a part of the culture. It's a part of now everybody growing up knows and loves the game, and it has spread into all of these new markets. I mean, it's just a whole new world, because if you really think back to, let's say, the 70s, even the early 80s, there were maybe only 4 or 5 pockets in the entire country where soccer really mattered. And now you've got 50 places.
Cincinnati, Ohio gets 26,000 in a $255 million stadium. If you would have told anyone in St. Louis that in the 70s, 80s, 90s, we'd be like, yeah, right.
Well, you would have definitely picked there's be a team in Nashville, right?
Exactly.
I mean,
absolutely.
It's
another great example.
You would never think. If I look at it, the 1994 World Cup had a big impact, but like Taylor said, it still bumped along for quite some time. And as Ty mentioned, there were some individuals that really kept the league together, and people that probably had a passion for the sport. Lamar Hunt, the Anschutz, but it wasn't like a broad-based thing. So where we are now is that the league is more than stable, and there's been inflection points that have progressed. You've got so many different, what I would look at it just from a business perspective, indicators of why things are going to continue to improve and get better. Taylor mentioned, players. He mentioned a couple of players this year that potentially these are high quality players, global players that are looking to come to the U.S. Messi coming again at the tail end of his career, but you see a league now, and you see one that is attracting some of the best players in the world and at younger ages. You see the World Cup coming in, and what you also see is that it's not 1 or 2 wealthy owners. The league is now very, distributed across a number of different owners, and there's a number of different, I would say, investors. You even look at sports in general. They're opening it up more to private equity, owners. Now, again, I think we have something special here because the Taylor family, me growing up, we've got so many people here that are really just, committed, invested. And I think that's the best way to build a team, is to have that local connection. But when I look at where the league is today, if you have smart, I would say, investors, they see this going where Taylor was mentioning. This thing is on a rise. U.S. soccer is on a rise. And you think about the other just factors you're looking, the sport of soccer is a global sport. The one thing, and maybe your perspective, that we need to take to really take things to the next level is we need to create, I would say, a more significant media, presence from the attraction, the number of viewers. You get that, you start to get some of that to start, that inflection point starting to move. That's going to create more dollars coming in. You're going to see more money that's reinvested back into the sport, back into the players. This league has the potential to be one of the best leagues in the world. And the U.S. is one of the most attractive places for people to come and live and players to come and live. So there's a number of things that are going on that, are really good indicators of where the league and where soccer is going. And I believe those things are going to happen, and I think the World Cup, here in North America and, in the United States specifically, is going to be another one of those inflection points that's going to take it to another level. So I'm pretty excited about, everything that's happening, and I'm very bullish on where the league's going.
So I want to give that media question to Taylor in just a second. But first, I want to ask Jim, do you think AI could have predicted where we are now?
No. Yeah. Well, who knows? We're all going to have our little chat bots with us. So you can all have a Taylor next to you, too. We can,
you can, but that will get you fired in about a month.
So, yes, that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, all right.
We've got our next question. You can see our club president standing next to our head of PR. Sorry, I'm going in, guys. The rivalry debate. Who is St. Louis City's biggest rival and why? And
this is a question?
Listen, I want to get to an answer. I want to get to clarity. I've heard people say lots of different clubs.
Are they from Earth?
Maybe I'm probing. Maybe I'm probing for an answer I want to hear.
What do you want to hear? And I'll give you the answer that you don't want to hear.
Mark it. PR's like, I can't give an opinion.
I mean, listen, I'll tell you right now. It's Sporting Kansas City versus St. Louis City is top 5 in the league.
Do we agree in the room?
Yeah. It's not even debatable. And I'll raise my hand. I underestimated it. Because if you ask me growing up, if you ask Jim, you ask Ty, Chicago is the natural St. Louis rival. And that's just what it was. When we grew up, we hated the Cubs, we hated the Blackhawks. I didn't grow up in this city where we had an NFL team, so I didn't really see Cardinals versus Bears, but you still didn't like Chicago. I underestimated it. It's brilliant. It's real. It's organic. The fans that are in here from both sides love it. I love the animosity. I hope St. Louis City and Sporting Kansas City never play a preseason game because it's meant to be that. It's meant, hatred's good in sports. And they do it out of respect, but it's really good. And it is absolute BS that the 1985 World Series happened. And I'm going to speak for everyone in this room. God rest his soul, Don Deckinger. Jesus. Where was VAR when that was going on? And honestly, I can't believe you asked that question. It's Sporting Kansas City, Peter.
I'm being provocative.
What are you going to tell me? It's Minnesota United?
I agree. Ty, you're a man of class. Do you believe in...
He played Kansas City.
No, wait a minute. I was at that game because I was playing for the Kansas City Comets.
Exactly.
I was in that stadium when that bad call happened. And yeah, I'll never forget it because not only was it terrible for the Cardinals, and I'm living in Kansas City at the time, I lived on the plaza and there was parties going on all night. I had to get up and train the next day for the indoor team, the Kansas City Comets. And I'm listening to the Royals fans going crazy. It drove me nuts.
So what do you think about the rivalry? Do you agree?
Absolutely.
Oh my God. It's so good, Peter.
Do you get excited about the games?
Oh, so good.
Do you think the players feel it?
Oh yeah. But hang on a minute. That's because of the fans. The fans in both ownership groups, the Illig family, the Peterson family, the Kavanaughs, and the Taylors, good on them. They went into it. Feet first, 2 feet, studs up, and it's good. And this new Onside documentary that's on Apple TV that debuts February 21, enjoy. It's good. It is good. And it puts, listen, my father's in this room, and I lived and breathed and listened about Portland, Seattle. And that is as good as Manchester United versus Liverpool. Toronto, Montreal doesn't get enough credit in our league. That is brilliant. Cincinnati, Columbus is really good. Hell is real. But St. Louis, Kansas City, Apple, MLS owners, I can't tell you how many people have come to me and go, bro, you didn't tell me about this. And I was like, I thought Chicago Fire was going to be, I admit it. It's brilliant. It is so good.
Are these sort of rivalries the thing that are going to get more people to tune into the MLS, do you think? Do we need more of this? You don't really get it in basketball.
But don't fake it. Don't fake it though. Don't make something that isn't there. You can't do that. And that's where MLS has grown over the last 7 years.
I agree with that. And that's the supporters. The supporters
organic.
Here. No, it is. Yeah. So you got to see the people march, the supporters, the fans marching in, they bring the passion. They bring that energy. And like, Taylor said, there's just things you can't fake and you can't buy.
Yeah.
It's got to be authentic.
And I do believe when we're years down the road, I do think Chicago's going to play themselves into this. I do, because it's just natural with St. Louis, Chicago. But the fact that you just asked me that question a week before the season, buddy, I want whatever you're taking.
I got to put it out there.
Even St. Louis FC with Louisville. Remember that? Down at the soccer park? That was huge. I mean, yeah, there you go. That was a true rivalry.
That's
and
awesome.
It was bitter. Yeah.
All right,
big time.
we're gonna move to a dangerous phase of the podcast. We're gonna invite some questions.
Absolutely.
If anybody's got a question, if you want to come here, can I get him? Will the mic work? Anybody want to ask a question to the legends?
You can
I'm
ask
going to
anything
stand
you
over
want.
here. Keep it PG-13.
Wait a minute.
Why? It's a podcast.
We can always edit out.
Wait a minute.
can always edit it
I
out.
have a question for Tim Twellman.
Don't.
All right? Actually,
His mic doesn't work,
No,
Ty.
actually, for Taylor. Taylor, this is a quiz. All right. So, what 3 players
Oh, shit.
played their last professional season in '86 in Kansas City? 2 of them are here.
I'm going to say
Who's
the
the third
3
one?
St. Louis guys.
No, not St. Louis guys. The third player of note.
Ooh, that I wouldn't know. I know it's Ty Keough, Tim Twellman, and I would say Chico Borja, for lack of a better word.
Johan Neeskens.
Wow, okay.
Was with the Kansas City Comets. And
That is the only time Ty Keough and Tim Twellman will be mentioned with Johan Neeskens.
I know, that's
But
why I
go
wanted to
ahead.
mention it. And Neeskens scored the penalty against Germany in the '74
Yeah.
World Cup final, the first minute of the game for the Dutch, for the
right.
Netherlands.
We're hot mic'd up. Does anybody want to ask a question to the legends? Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Ray Kirsting.
What's up, Rick?
This is a question, I guess, more for Taylor, but what are your thoughts about the possibility that MLS will go from 2 conferences to multiple divisions? I've seen some stories about that.
One, I love any kind of rumor that's out here about MLS because that means people are talking about MLS. And there was a time when I was playing in the league and MVP in the league and nobody was talking about it. I will say something that is now being in this league so now it's going to be my 24th year. I just dated myself. Rick, I would say this. I marvel at how well Major League Soccer and their owners, and I have to say Commissioner Don Garber, how they evolve and how they read the room and how they understand where this thing needs to go and at the pace it needs to go at. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I think they really want to solidify what the playoff format is. They want to solidify what this looks like with 30 teams. I think it's fantastic that there's more MLS teams in Open Cup. We all know how much I love the Open Cup. It's the longest standing trophy in U.S. soccer history, and absolutely Major League Soccer should be a part of it, and they are, and it's great. We saw what Leagues Cup did the first year, and we see what the World Cup. I would say this, and I've said this publicly, I think Major League Soccer looking at changing the calendar is way, way, way more important than whether or not there's 2 conferences or 4 divisions. Here's the reason why. Major League Soccer will make exponentially more money when the transfer window lines up with the top 4 to 6 leagues in the world. That's fact. The fact that there is a Houston Dynamo center back being sold for $6 million in the next 10 to 12 hours, and he came through MLS Next Pro in order to get there tells you that the moment they align, when the biggest clubs with the biggest checkbooks line up with that, this is a rocket ship to the moon. Because the amount of phone calls I get, for instance, last night, a 16-year-old kid came on and played for Orlando City, and immediately I had a phone call this morning and 2 text messages from 2 Premier League agents and La Liga agents asking, wait a minute, what was that? And 2 of the 3 are bona fide agents. The players are here, the league is here, but the owners are now looking at it saying, hang on a minute, if we align more, does that mean 25, 30% more? We're selling, this league is selling, it's real money. It's real money. The fact that you can do it in the league, as Ty said, it's great because the rest of the world can now, I think, understand what that is. But my word, the fact that New York City is going to sell Santiago Rodriguez for $17 million potentially in the next 8 hours, 10 hours. It's awesome. But I think, to answer your question, I think the schedule is way more important than whether or not there's 4 divisions, conferences, or whatever, because I just think the league will make 25 to 35% more money.
Great answer. We got opportunity for 2 more questions.
Yeah, we're here to talk about St. Louis soccer. We're here to talk about passion, where you guys were talking about rivalries. You mentioned Man City, Liverpool. You mentioned St. Louis, Kansas City. You guys all grew up here. I'm a little disappointed you didn't mention it. I'd like to hear your comments. North-South.
I mean, listen, I get out of this. I grew up in the West. But Twellmans and Delsings were North County people, so I will let that sit there.
Yeah, I would just, it's one of those things we haven't talked about that is part of the history. And it's just part of the fun. It's part of the fun. There was this North-South crazy thing. And unfortunately, obviously the North was better. That's just kind of a fact.
Just kind of a fact.
And then I end up going to college, and the majority of my roommates and the players are all South, and they're a bunch of losers. But
Taylor,
I'm joking. There's some of my best friends.
Yeah, but that's the organic part of the rivalry.
No, it's the beauty of it. It's the beauty of it.
You see
Don't
those,
like any
you
of
see
those
those
guys.
those 5 stripes?
Yep.
All Southsiders.
Now you claim it. Now you do.
Hey, Borgie, Keough,
I know.
Wallace,
I know.
Colombo,
It's awesome. I love the fact that
Perriani. Yeah. And your high school, south of Highway 40, by the way, too.
Totally. I will say this. My generation, you guys will have, West County might have blown the doors off of everybody. And that's how weird that is.
Yeah.
Because the moment St. Charles became part of it, and then all of a sudden Chesterfield and whatnot, Baldwin, I said this to Steve Ralston, who was an Oakville kid and a Southsider. I said, dude, you take your Southside, I'll take mine. And he looked at the first 4 guys I listed. He goes, yeah, no, we're good, man. We're good.
Yeah.
We'll stay past. We'll stay past. Everything's pre-1988.
All right, we've got a chance for one more question. Where's that one more question coming from?
I don't know if I'm the right person to do the last question. I'm a bona fide, not a media person, but we do have a podcast in Spanish, and we always argue about this thing. Why is it that as somebody from outside, we came here in 2008, I didn't know anything about how much football is embedded in St. Louis City. And I know I'm lucky to know Ty, and I always told him, how come that you guys have so much history, so much?
Because we don't like anyone that's not from here. So we were like, what? No one's invited.
Yeah, but that was the one part that I always complained. If you guys would have put it out there better.
No.
We missed that. Like me, somebody from Guatemala, I didn't have a clue that I was making somebody take a shot of tequila with me one day because I didn't even know that he playing with Hugo Sanchez, for instance.
Yep.
Or all of a sudden I saw you walking around. I know my wife didn't know who you were, and I need to have a picture with you.
And you asked me to sign Carlos Ruiz's Guatemalan jersey.
Yeah,
I told you to take a hike.
Yeah, what can I say? Hey, you had to do what you had to do. Anyway, so here is one question. Why in the world you always said, which high school did you go?
Yes.
Did you go? But why
I don't know
you
that
guys
answer.
say, hey, I play for this and this and this? Because then, to me, it would have been more different, more significance instead of, I don't care what high school you.
I don't know the high
you
school
play in
answer.
Germany,
I don't
but
know
you
that
play
answer.
anyway. So it's a complaint and a question.
First off, thank you for coming to St. Louis in 2008. You've made our city better.
Absolutely.
Yep. Secondly, what high school did you go to? I don't know. You guys got it. The high school thing has always made me curious.
Yeah, it's probably one of the most bizarre things. It's whether it's sport or it's business. I don't know why. There's people that come in, and that's what we do in St. Louis. What high school do you go to?
It's a tight community.
Yeah.
And people stay here. People.
It's very parochial. I would agree with you. I would agree with you on that.
I would just say one or two things based on a comment that first of all, I mean, it's great again to have you guys here and to have the supporters here. This is what, why the game is, the beautiful game. It's why it's the best game in the world. It truly, you talk about bringing people together of multiple, different ethnic backgrounds, cultural backgrounds. This game brings people together in a way that
it's the most inclusive sport in the world, Jim. Well done.
It is the most inclusive sport. And it was, we've all played again for different, national team, Olympic team, played, but it was probably, it was one of the best experiences I've had playing for the Olympic team and traveling and redshirting for a year and going to 30 different countries. But it was amazing, even more importantly, what I learned about different people and different around the world and seeing how people are brought up in the game. Literally, if you stayed at a hotel where you had 15 other 20 teams, countries in there, getting to know people. I mean, it brings people together. The sport is such an amazing sport. And, it's been so good to St. Louis. And St. Louis is very unique that people wouldn't really understand the history and the passion for soccer. So we're very fortunate to have it here. The high school thing, I don't have an answer for that one, but but we're very fortunate to have
Peter,
what
look
we
at
have.
yourself, right? Jim and I were doing this for a couple years, and then finally got to this point. I'm bringing this up because Jim's going to remember what I said because I was very passionate about it. St. Louis has to grow. We have to evolve. It has to. And the only way to do that, in my opinion, it's got to become more inclusive. And the way to do that is someone from Guatemala in 2008, someone from England. This city has to get with the tide and get with the rest of the world. And I believe, and always have, that place can do it. Because it doesn't matter what color skin, what your name is, what it is. The moment the whistle blows, when you're a lover of the beautiful game and you love St. Louis, everyone's going to come together. And so whether it's the Louisans, and I love the Hispanic flavor that all of a sudden Energizer Park has. We need more of that.
Santos.
Santos. We need more of that, and this city needs more of it because ultimately it is about our love and passion for St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis has to grow up and evolve a little bit, and I think they can use city to do so.
Yeah, and I'll just add to it. He just had, having the stadium here, the passion, bringing people together. This also connects. You look at the universities. You have kids coming to go to school at St. Louis University, go to WashU. You have very international school. They want this. They want this game. They want this experience. You're not going to get cities to grow without sport. Sport is such it basically. You think that like the Cardinals, the Blues, these are like massive Fortune 500 companies. They're not.
Nope.
You look at St. Louis City. I mean, they are so much more impactful than the size of the organization. And they have such an impact on the local community. And it brings people together from all different backgrounds. So there's so much goodness.
I mean, look at the Bosnian community that has just bred so many great players in this city and what it is. But the city will make it in the 2026 World Cup when 4 or 5 cities are fighting for that to be their training facility and that to be friendlies. And it's already happening. But this city's got to be ready with open arms and an open mind to show the world that St. Louis, we're not stuck in the 70s and 80s anymore. We want to get younger. We want to get more diverse. We want to be more inclusive. And we want to open up our city because of what he's saying. We didn't talk about it. He came here in 2008. He had no clue what we were. There's a valuable lesson that maybe we need to own that a little bit, open it up, and let's roll. Let's roll with this and use City to do it.
City fans, are we ready? Yes, we are. Listen, that takes us to the end of our first ever live City Voice podcast. I want to thank everybody that turned out on a Saturday evening to join in and get involved with questions and just participate. It does show the depth of love for soccer in this city. And I've got to say, it's been inspiring sitting here with 3 genuine legends of St. Louis City. Looking around the room and seeing absolute leaders and people that love the game. So we're going to close this out. Taylor Twellman, Jim Kavanaugh, Ty Keough, thank you. That's been an amazing podcast. Give them a round of applause.
Thank you, Peter.
And remember, if you're listening to this on your iPhone, give us a 5-star review. We love those. And we'll be back all season to the City Voice fans. We're going to have all of our new players on there. We might get our coach on there. So thank you to everybody that listens to the podcast. It means a lot. It's designed to bring you closer to the club.
Peter, shut up. Take the selfie.
And on that note, we'll say ciao for now. Thanks for coming, everybody.